Good evening, esteemed principals, educators, and guests. A warm welcome to the Educators Meet 2024, presented by the Telegraph Online Edugraph in association with NSHM Knowledge Campus and Techno University. I'm Shweta, representing the Telegraph Online team, and tonight as we gather here, I feel immense gratitude and sheer joy to be in the presence of luminaries from the world of education, who work tirelessly to nurture and to shape the next generation. In her address at the Telegraph Online Edugraph Under 18 Awards, our profoundly inspiring chief guest, Mrs. Sudha Murthy, beautifully captured the essence of teaching. And I quote, "The only profession where there is no rivalry. Oh God, let my students do better than me. That's why I say Acharya Devo Bhava. Teachers, I salute thee." On that note, I would like to invite Mr. Samarjit Chaudhary, Business Lead, the Telegraph Online, to share a few words with us.
Thank you, Shweta. A very good evening to all principals of esteemed schools, educators, and valued guests. On behalf of the Telegraph Online, I am delighted to welcome each of you to an evening that promises to be both enriching and enjoyable. This gathering symbolizes our deep connection and unified goal to enrich and empower future generations. Tonight, I am proud to highlight the contributions of the Telegraph Online Edugraph, the educational vertical of the Telegraph Online. We are dedicated to supporting students on their journey from campus to career. We cover news, campus happenings, and topics related to skill development, striving to smooth the transition with relevant information and support. Edugraph also serves as a valuable resource for educators and parents seeking a one-stop platform for both local and national education news. It is also my distinct pleasure to introduce Bickram Ghosh, a maestro whose contribution to music are not only innovative but also deeply inspirational. His insights tonight will undoubtedly resonate with us, highlighting the profound connection between the arts and educational success. Following Mr. Ghosh's inspirational talk, we would like to join us for a cocktail dinner where we can continue our conversations, share insights, build connections, and discuss future collaborations. Thank you once again for joining us tonight. Let's make this evening one of meaningful conversations and new discoveries. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chaudhary, for setting the tone of the evening. This evening would not have been possible without the support of our sponsors, NSHM Knowledge Campus and Techno University. Now I would like to invite Mr. Cecil Anthony, Chief Mentor of NSHM Knowledge Campus, to kindly address the gathering.
On behalf of NSHM Knowledge Campus, a very warm welcome to all the distinguished guests, educators from the city of Kolkata. NSHM has been a 27-year-old brand with campuses spread across Durgapur and Kolkata, and spanning across verticals including engineering, media, design, health sciences, business and management, tourism and hotel management, and the nursing line. Apart from these schools, we have been very deeply working with something called the Life Skills School. The Life Skills School at NSHM looks at the holistic development of the student. It includes the Center for Language and Communication, the Center for Creative and Performing Arts, the Center for Sports and Wellness, the Center for Innovation and Incubation, and the Center for Social Action. When we launched these centers, we felt the need of inculcating in our students a lot of attributes beyond the technical skills which they require to succeed in life. I'm really happy that we have Pandit Bickram Ghosh today. He was very instrumental in setting our Center for Creative and Performing Arts. As educators, I would like to first thank EduGraph for bringing this opportunity of Educators Meet 2024. There have been challenging times which are there with all of us. And I'll just quickly speak of 3 big challenges which all of us as educators see today. And those are the opportunities which we have in our hand. The first one, we call it as the short span syndrome. All of us must be very savvy on the mobile phone with something called a YouTube. And the moment we look at YouTube and an ad comes, you'll have to keep on seeing the ad for the first 3 or 5 seconds. It is only after that you get the option of skip. It is that 3 or 5 seconds which is the attention grabbing activity. So today's youth, today's adult, everybody is in a short span syndrome. That is a big opportunity for us. That is a big challenge for us to get the attention span of people in our classrooms, wherever we are interacting. The second opportunity which we really see today is not the expressways which are being built in the country all across, but an expressway called the bandwidth expressway. All of us are glued onto our phones thanks to this bandwidth expressway. And this is an expressway where in a country like India, we are able to get it at about 16 cents per GB. The world average is about $2.50. We are one of the cheapest bandwidth country available in the globe. Now this expressway has given us the opportunity for a new addiction. Right from age 2 to age 70, all of us are addicted. Many of us are tracking, what is my screen time? I do that. You look at the security guard in your school or anybody else, they spend more time on their smartphones. And post the COVID, this new expressway has given us tremendous opportunities for information at practically no cost available in width and in depth to all our students. That is the second challenge. And the third challenge, the third opportunity, of course, everybody is now talking of the AI deepfakes, videos, elections on, and AI has suddenly caught up. We talked about it in the 90s when the computers came and we said, no computerization, banks were, on strikes. We don't want to embrace computers because that will take away jobs. And 30 years down the line, we still see that created a lot more jobs. Everybody runs towards that computer science to make a career in computing. So 30 years, it changed what we thought then. And I'm sure all of us today are thinking, what will be the role of a teacher if AI becomes so strong? What will be the role of so many people? I'm sure new roles will come up. I'm sure education will get redefined. And I'm sure, as at NSHM we say, that the role of a teacher is that of a performing artist. It is that 60-minute, 120-minute span of time which we have in front of our audience, and how we can keep them enthralled with our performance is what is going to define the educator of tomorrow. And it is so great to have Bickram today, a great legend from whom a lot of us will be able to really learn in this changing world, how do we use performance to its best form for education. Thank you and welcome to the EduGraph Educators Meet.
Thank you very much, Mr. Anthony, for sharing your thoughts with us. I would now like to invite Professor Manushi Roy Chaudhary, Co-Chairperson, Techno India Group and Co-Chancellor, Techno India University, to say a few words.
A very good evening to all the educators, the principals of the City of Joy gathered together. It's a part of oxygen from Telegraph today, in spite of going through a very bad phase in the last few days. It was a commitment, and maybe my students and the principals helped me to come out of it. So if I say anything which does not suit today's situation or environment, please excuse me. Education is something which Techno India Group has started with almost 25 years back in the state of West Bengal. The first engineering college, private engineering college, the first private university in the state, and numerous schools, numerous colleges, all in a row. But is education only about the examinations which we have at the end of the day, the marks which the students get? We all know it's much, much more than that. I always speak about it. Because, as Mr. Anthony was telling, he has already touched the point of AI and technology, which is always either the first or the last topic to be discussed, and that is what is taking over our smartphones, our laptops, without which we cannot, the world cannot run. But can these replace our teachers? Never. It's only because of our teachers and principals can we say that our students are performing the feelings, the sentiments, the pat of a teacher or a principal on the shoulder of the child matters so, so much. We cannot go without. But yes, both goes hand in hand. It's technology, it's the sentiments of the children, and what does a child do when he faces the challenges? আমার কাছে আজকে এটাই সবথেকে বড় question. Do you crumb into it? Do you get out of it? When you get out of it, you are a much stronger person. So our students need to learn that, because every day cannot be a sunny day for them. Techno India University in the city or the college, we have come up with courses like design and art. We have come up with ASME school, which is talking about management studies. These are something other than the engineering and the non-engineering courses which makes you help with child who is in the middle or the back benches. Engineering and medical students are always there. They perform well. They get good marks. We help them to have better results. What happens to the ones who are in the seats at the back? Someone is a very good artist. He may not have a 90s in his results, but to tap that potential, you need art, you need music, you need dance. So let us all see whether we can tap the best of every child of the class. I remember in some interview we were speaking about, do we look into all the 40 students of a class or only the first row? Actual education is when we teach all the students to sign, all the students to be confident that yes, I can do it. And that is where our principals and teachers are really, really working hard. Bringing the confidence back to a student is what matters most. And you do not know what he can actually excel with. So let us think of these students, as Indra Nui had told, that learning has no end. You always should be very curious about, why is the sky so blue? Why are the birds flying? Not that I know everything. We at this age are learning, we will be learning. And education has that quality to make every person, an old or a young, to be a student. So let us all pray that we are mentally fit, because finally that mental wellness is so important, and the COVID times has taught us that however successful you are, does that success mean about the cars, the good flats, or the service, or the job you do? No. It is about, are you mentally happy? A small thing can also make you so happy and contented. Just as you share, you spread your hand to one who needs your hand. That is called education. India is such a country, we need to support each other and bring up those people who need our support, those students who needs our support and hand. Thank you so much. Thank you all the educators and the principals out here, for whom we can say Kolkata, West Bengal is educated and has very good students who perform much, much better when they are globally placed as well. Thanks a lot, and thank you, Telegraph, for giving me this platform to at least express myself in my days of grief. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Professor Roy Chaudhary, for sharing such thought-provoking words with us. We wanted today to be very special and memorable, and when Pandit Bickram Ghosh very kindly agreed to join us this evening, we were ecstatic and counting days to the 9th of May 2024. So without further ado, I would like to invite Pandit Bickram Ghosh on stage, and accompanying him is Sukanya Das, a communications professional who will be moderating this session.
Thank you, Shweta, and a very good evening to the distinguished gathering present here today with us. Mr. Anthony and Dr. Roy Chaudhary have addressed some of the serious issues, some of the concerns that educators and parents have. We've not at least planned to touch upon AI or the digital divide or challenges that it's throwing up as such in our talk. But let's see how the conversation goes. Just a word of warning, Bickram, the principals and educators, we have to be on our best behavior.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. And yes, ma'ams. So that is one. And we also have to be on the straight and narrow path. Huh? Now, that's a tough ask. Because Bickram Das' journey and the arc that it's traveled has been anything but straight and absolutely not narrow.
But I'm very straight.
No, you are very straight, of course. I'm sure there are no doubts about that. But the path that you're, the journey towards success, towards stardom, towards why you're here today, has not been straight. The path has not been straight, and it has not been narrow. In fact, if you read a bit about how it's gone, it almost seems like it's the amalgamation or the culmination of a series of contradictions. Ektaর সাথে একটা শুধু মারপিটি করে যাচ্ছে. Would you want to elaborate?
Yes, I would agree with that. Good evening, everybody. Well, that's a pertinent question, and there is much truth in that. I was born in Kolkata. I was less than a year old when I was whisked away on an airplane to the Bay Area in California. So first 5 years growing up was there in the city of San Rafael, which is just on the other side of the Golden Gate Bridge. One side is San Francisco, other side is San Rafael. Both my parents were teaching at the Ali Akbar College of Music those days. And I grew up in an environment in sunny California. We had a lovely little house. We had a town car. We had 24-hour television.
24-hour television.
We're talking 1968, and 24-hour televisions. So I was a little boy who was growing up on Sesame Street, Speed Racer, etc., etc. When I was 5.5, one day my father told my mother, "Shono, shamner mashe deshe phirbo." Ma fell from the skies. Why? What happened? He said, my son has called me dad. This boy will never play tabla, and he will never be a musician, and he's hardly going to be Indian. He's already calling me dad. Month of August. September, we're back in Kolkata.
Talk about decisive.
Action. Let's not forget, 1971-72, Kolkata, there was rampant load shedding. Of course, no 24-hour television. Television hi chilo na. Television came a few years later. That too came for 2 hours in the evening. You would know how it was like. Da, 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 da. It was a culture shock. And I came back to Kolkata. I couldn't speak Bangla, which is one of the reasons why Baba brought me back here. And I used to get teased a lot, cousins, etc. Ekta shobdo tokhon ব্যবহার হতো tash.
Oh yes, Tash Guru.
So there was a lot of that happening. I became introverted because I couldn't speak without being laughed upon. And then gradually, anyway, so with tremendous quirk of fate, I was put into La Matinee for boys, which wouldn't have happened left to my father's devices. But we lived next to the chief engineer's house, তখন যিনি chief engineer ছিলেন. And he and his wife took a fancy for me, made me their grandchild, and said, "This boy is wonderful, he needs to go to La Matinee." And I was promptly somehow put into La Matinee for boys, which was really a big game changer. Thereafter, growing up in La Matinee was also a bunch of contradictions, because La Matinee those days, there was nothing, it had nothing to do with Indian classical music. And at home, it was the Guru Shishya Parampara, both parents musicians, both Indian classical artists. And in La Matinee for boys, we were learning a tissue, Go Tell Aunt Nancy, etc., etc. I'm sure many of you will resonate with those songs because that's from our time. Then, more contradictions developed naturally because such bifurcated. We formed a school band, called ourselves the Satellites. And to my father's utter shock, I was the conga player in the band. So Baba, who came back from America thinking my son is going to be an Indian classical tabla player, saw the child suddenly becoming a conga player, and I was highly fascinated by Daku Potato. Because Osibisa came in 1982, and we all were fascinated by this band, and there was big news, and Daku Potato was the hero for some reason, and I wanted to be like Daku Potato. And my father was like in complete shock. He was like, "Ki holo." La Matinee used to end at 1:20. I think it still does around that time. Excuse me. I would walk down to Balu Hakkak Lane, which is where this sweet shop called Mithai is, very near there. What happened in Balu Hakkak Lane? Well, that was Ustad Bade Ghulam Ali Khan Sahab's house. And my mother used to learn singing from his son, Munawar Ali Khan Sahab. Bade Ghulam Ali Khan Sahab had died in the 1960s. So I would walk down because Ma was learning there, and having done satellite rehearsals, played the conga, and done Rolling Stone covers, Bee Gees covers, I walked down to Balu Hakkak Lane, and as I'm climbing up the stairs, I can hear Ayana Balam, Kinare Kinare and all of that is going on. So I would enter, and Khan Sahab would be teaching, and he would say, "Arey beta aa gaya, aa jao, theka lagao." So immediately I would swap into the role of the classical tabla player and start playing theka. This continued. And I think that's where I like to use the word juxtaposition. Okay. The juxtaposition in my life, because I was 6:30 the school bus would come. My father would wake me up at 5. He would say, if you do not practice for 45 minutes, you can't go to school. And my mother would be in shock. You can't go to school? What do you mean? He has to be educated. So Baba would make me practice for 45 minutes. And then I would go to school, get ready for the school bus and go to school. So there was this kind of, contradiction, as you correctly said. I like to use the word juxtaposition, because eventually I did manage to make sense of the whole thing. Because it was very bifurcated. And my friends in school were not interested in classical music, and my people at home were not interested in Bee Gees or Rolling Stones. And in fact, I would be told off if I would listen to anything other than Indian classical music. So you're right.
So pretty schismed experience almost. We come to the next stage of your journey where you went on to St. Xavier's and studied English literature. Any Xaverians here? Yeah, okay. And yes, quite a few. Any literature students here? England? Again here. Oh, so St. Xavier's, there you go.
Well, I'm 84, 87 batch in St. Xavier's College. Help.
But so, as we all believe, once a Xaverian, always a Xaverian.
Always a Xaverian, of course. But to give due credit to the next institution, I did my master's in literature from Jadavpur University.
Yes. So my question about both Xavier's and Jadavpur then would be, were these again contradictions / juxtapositions, or were they continuums? Or a continuum of juxtapositions? God, that's too many English words at the same time, but you know what I mean.
Are you an English major?
Yes.
There you go. Well, yes, it was still a juxtaposition of sorts, But the important thing here is, see, I studied science with economics in 11 and 12 in La Martiniere.
Okay.
And then it was considered in society much more than now that, if you were a boy, you needed to study science. If you were studying arts, it's not quite the cool thing, So I, of course, my uncle said, science power, Cherada science power. So science, and I was abysmal at it, So I really wanted to study literature, and I loved the study of literature when I was in La Martiniere. We had some lovely teachers, great teachers. Milford Hennessy used to teach us, and I loved the way he kind of brought out Shakespeare and all of that. It was just brilliant. So I did make that choice in college, and I was allowed to make that choice in college to study literature. And I must say that today, in retrospect, I'm so glad I did that, because it is a huge part of what I do in my performances, and I can elaborate on that later when we come to that particular chapter. But yes, I learned a lot in St. Xavier's, because my headspace really opened up, because there were a lot of different kinds of people in St. Xavier's College, coming from different societies, different parts of social strata, different parts of the country, people would come. And I really enjoyed that experience, and 5 boys and 47 girls.
I was waiting for that.
English honors, St. Xavier's. Besides just the wonderful charm of the whole experience, I truly had no idea about how women behaved until I went to college.
You know now?
No, I'm still in shock. Okay. But it was certainly an eye opener because you get to know them really close as classmates, and it was pretty wonderful, because that was very educative on many levels. How they think differently from boys and all of that. So I think it was a wonderful period of my life.
And Jadavpur?
Well, Jadavpur too. But by the time I had gone to Jadavpur, I was already performing. And I had already decided that I'm going to make tabla my profession. And I was my headspace was moving towards music much more aggressively by the time I was in Jadavpur. But of course, fantastic teachers and fantastic fraternity. My very, very dear friend who unfortunately passed away under tragic circumstances 2 years back, was my best friend in Jadavpur University, Shamantok Das, and we were classmates in school as well, in Lavatne, and then in Jadavpur. So many memories.
Yes, I do know about that, and I think that touched a lot of us in Kolkata. It hit a lot of us very hard. But I'll go back to the love that the two of you shared,
yes,
which is English literature. You did speak about how English literature shaped a lot of who you are, what you are as a performer and as a individual. We've had that discussion. I'll just tie it up with something else that the educators present here will also agree with. We do see a shift from, let's say, a focus on STEM or a preference for STEM to what I think is, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, whether we do say the word STEAM, where we have the arts in, not imposed, but included into the science, technology, engineering and mathematics, how do we call it, the cluster. So as a person who has studied, the language arts and the performing arts and fine arts also, what do you think is the importance of the arts to formal education?
When I was studying in Jadavpur, now this will interest pretty much all of you, especially people who have studied English literature. We were obviously studying a lot of Shakespeare,
right,
doing a master's degree. Mm-hmm. I suddenly realized that Shakespeare was a tabla player.
Okay. All right. Not the conga, sure.
Not the conga, for sure.
All right.
That was Ben Jonson.
Okay. Point taken.
So the question is, how was he a tabla player? We have something called chhaptal. Mm-hmm. It's a tal cycle of 10 beats, going 5 plus 5 in tabla playing. Shakespeare wrote all his plays in iambic pentameter. So I did a paper in my master's degree connecting Shakespeare's iambic pentameter and something called anaghat chhaptal.
Very interesting.
I will elaborate on that. So for those who don't know, I already saw some heads going, yes, we know iambic pentameter, of course you do. But for those who don't, this is how Shakespeare was writing. Methinks I am a prophet new inspired, and thus expiring do foretell of him his rash fierce blaze of riot cannot last. How on earth is that chhaptal? Watch. Methinks I am a prophet new inspired, and thus expiring do foretell of him his rash fierce blaze of riot cannot last. It's all in 5 beats. 5. So pentameter. And now this guy, Shakespeare, he must have been a jazz drummer as well.
Okay.
Because he was doing the whole thing on the upbeat. So the whole thing is going ba-bam, 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 ba-bam. Not bam, ba-bam, ba-bam. No, it's going ba-bam, 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 ba-bam. Methinks I am a prophet. It's like a rapper, you know. Methinks I am a prophet, new inspired, and thus expiring do foretell of him. His rash fierce blaze of riot cannot last. So he's going, in sharp contrast to say a Keats or a Shelley, trochaic tetrameter, which is Sida Sida Teen Tal, on the downbeat, season of mists and mellow fruitfulness, close bosom friend of the maturing sun. Da din din na da din din na trikidin na trikidin din na da. So that's how these guys are connected.
Did you consider teaching as a profession?
Oh, I did. I seriously, I mean, my alter ego, you know, always wanted to be an English teacher.
Would you have given him a job? How many A's? Yes?
I really loved literature. I loved literature. And I loved just the thought of going into a classroom and talking about Shakespeare and all of this. Zindagi mein sab kuch to nahi hota na. But I do teach now, but teach tabla. But wherever I get a chance, I talk, I marry the twain, so to say, you know.
So, ever the twain shall meet.
Yes.
I think there's a workshop idea right there for our senior students in 11, 12, and Mr. Anthony, and I think Dr. Roy Chaudhary has left, but...
he knows my forte.
That would be wonderful.
He's a dear friend.
So coming back to your profession, the one that did take you into its arms and welcome you, how did the big leagues happen? Because you've played big.
Well, see, I mean, I always wanted to be a tabla player because my father was this great, huge tabla star in the 70s. You know, I was his fan. I still am. I always think that, you know, he's my hero. He's the best and that kind of thing. I always wanted to be like him, play like him, and I started out simply copying him, and that was a disaster. Because first 7 or 8 years of my career, and I started very young, as I said, you know, I was in maybe Xavier's, started performing. By the time I was in Jadavpur, I was already getting paid for performances. So, and here I was copying Baba. 90% of the time, and when I think about it now, people were so insensitive, you know. They didn't think how this young boy is going to feel. But I remember concerts, you know, those days we used to play in Kalamandir basement, you know. Kalakunj. We hadn't graduated to the upper auditorium. But in Kalakunj, I remember one dhoti-clad gentleman, after I had played a tabla solo, just simply stood up and said, "Bickram, khub bhalo, babar moto hoyni." And I was devastated. I came home and I was like... Then I remember we were on a train from somewhere to somewhere, and many artists, many of them who are very big names today, were all traveling, and this is around 1990, 91 maybe. And a young man came up to me and said, "Apni Bickram Ghosh?" And all my friends were taken aback because those days nobody knew us, and they all felt here Bickram was already making a name, you know, he's known, somebody's coming and talking to him, Apni Bickram Ghosh. But what he said after that was again such a downer. He says, "I wanted to ask you," he said in Bangla, I said it in English, "I wanted to always ask you something. Ki, apnar hater awajta babar moto keno hoyni?" So this was my early days, you know, up until the point when my father pulled me aside one day and said, "What you're doing is never going to work." He was the one who said, "Stop copying me. Find your own voice, find your own style, your own baj." And then I studied the Carnatic system as well, from Pandit S. Shekharji, my other guru. And I started listening to other gharanas and taking from other people and kind of really working on what I was putting out there in a concert, you know. And then the change happened. And then the great Pandit Ravi Shankar ji happened. And, I really think, all of you sitting here, I'm sure you believe that, destinies can change in a moment or in a day like this, Before I tell you Raviji's story, I want to tell you one very interesting incident with my father. Maybe there's a message in it also. 1990, when I came out of Jadavpur University, he asked me, do you want to play tabla or do you want to be a journalist or a teacher or because you've done your masters and now you... So I said, I want to play tabla. Oh, you want to play tabla? Acha. So, shono tahole kintu tumi acha tumi ki amar tumi when he had something serious to say he would say tumi, like many of the fathers who acha tumi ki amar barite thakbe, are you going to stay in my house? I said, I'm like an only child, I said, what kind of a question is that? So if you're going to live in my house, you got to pay, I said, eh? What do you mean? No, you got to, how much can you have to contribute to the Shongshar. So I said, how much do you want me to pay? He said, 1,500 rupees a month. So I had no idea what it meant. 1990, 1,500, big deal, I'll do it. I was like, yeah, it's cool. You got it. 1990, flash forward to 1994, when I was playing with Ravi Shankar ji, when he took me on and I was playing with him globally. In those 4 years, there was not a single month where I could give my father 1,500 rupees. Never. 1994, when I was playing with Ravi ji, I was earning quite a bit of money, in lakhs. Baba comes one day, sitting in the drawing room. Ki korchish? Cha khach. My son is sitting there. He can imagine what his dadu would do. He's a very interesting man, my father. He came with a big khata, big ruled khata. He came and sat next to me. He said, 1990 August, arrears is 672 rupees. Next month, kote. 4 years ka calculations he had maintained, how much deficit there was from 1,500. He said, you owe me 1,67,000 something. I was earning in cash those days. Manmohan Singh had opened up the economy. Foreign income was tax-free. Went into my locker, got the money, gave it to my father. That's the first time he hugged me, ever in my life. He touched my head and said, "Jeete raho."
How proud he must have been.
Yeah. So these are moments. Now I want to go back to 1993, just a year before that. So I was not making any inroads into the classical music field. I was extremely disappointed with my growth in the early years. I had gone to play a house concert in Brussels. So it was just an opportunity. I was hardly getting paid anything, but I said, "Chalo, I'll go." Brussels, after all, I'm going abroad to play. Somebody's house. Destiny. Suddenly, in the evening, this gentleman, a Bengali gentleman, says, and there were other musicians there, and they all are they're legends now, some of them certainly. So we were all staying and we were sleeping in the same room, in dormitory. Suddenly he came and said, "Everybody, listen, be on your best behavior and quickly get your instruments and tune and practice and everything. Robuda is coming to have dinner." Robuda is Ravi Shankar ji, Pandit Ravi Shankar, who was a friend of this gentleman's. So Ravi Shankar ji was in town to play in the Palais des Beaux-Arts, which is this kind of Royal Albert Hall of Brussels, the most important auditorium there. And he was coming to dinner because the concert was the day after. And we all took out instruments, and he came and he said, "Ek to kichu shonao," and we all played for him, played for a good 1 hour, 1 hour, 15 minutes. And after the performance, there was dinner. And while having dinner, Raviji met everybody, all the artists over there, and said, "Khoob bhalo, very good, God bless you, beta bahut acha bajaya, bahut acha falana falana." Nothing to me. Not a word. I remember my room was in the attic in his house. I was lying down in the attic and looking at the ceiling and thinking, hey, nothing's going to happen to me. My life is this, 12 o'clock in the night, past 12, no mobile phones those days, the landline rings. And the landlord, the person shouts, Bickram, Robuda on the phone, he's calling for you. I quickly scampered down and picked up the phone, and I still hear his voice, from the other side of the telephone. He said, Bickram, I'll say it in English, this is what he said, but he said it in Bangla. Bickram, you must be thinking why I didn't say anything to you. I said, apna bhalo lageni, you must have not liked. No, listen, I have heard such good tabla after a long time. And I had to come back to the hotel and speak to my wife before I spoke to you. So I said, what? He said, listen, I'm playing tomorrow in the Palais de Beaux-Arts, right? I said, yeah. Will you play with me? That was it. In one moment, next day I played with him, and then the next year he gave me a contract of 45 concerts across the globe. And in one instant, my destiny changed. And for the next 12 years, I played with him, almost 1,000 concerts. And it was a life-changing experience, life-changing, playing with Ravi Shankar ji. And I never thought, I remember getting hit in the chest, trying to get an autograph from him when I was 14 years old. And I still couldn't manage the autograph. And here I was playing with him, some almost 1,000 concerts and living in his house and calling him Jatamoshai. And I mean, seriously, it's surreal, And to talk about surreal, I mean, there were innumerable moments like this. We were playing in England, and Sting came to the concert, and Sting took us to his house. And those days I was only eating fish. I was not eating meat. And he had cooked meat for everybody. And because I was a fishitarian, he cooked seafood for me. And I'm standing next to Sting, and he's cooking seafood, and I'm like pinching myself. This is unreal, And no mobile phones, so I can't take a selfie, Yeah, Sting cooking for me. But there were innumerable moments like that. Carnegie Hall, 1997. We just played the concert. Raviji called me and said, can you just go, and there's this huge queue from downstairs coming up the stairway to meet Raviji in his green room, because backstage passes, and some very big people. So he said, ekটু গিয়ে বলো না এই Tom আর Jeff দাঁড়িয়ে আছে, একটু গিয়ে বলো, I just take a little time. I said, Tom and Jeff ke? Tom Hanks and Jeff Bridges and Goldie Hawn. They're standing in the queue to meet him. So I went up, and I was very nervous. I said, Mr. Hanks, Raviji said that just give him 2 minutes. Tom Hanks is standing like this, হাত জোড় করে. He says, please tell him it is an honor to wait for him. This was the aura of Pandit Ravi Shankar. We forget with time, but he was India's greatest ambassador. This was the aura.
Which begs the question, I mean, of course, one is not expected to stay in stasis, but 12 years and then you decided to move away from the aura, and what motivated you to take that leap of faith, and walk that journey towards, I would say, rhythmscape first, and the Bickram Ghosh we know today?
Yeah, those were crazy times. Of course, somehow, somewhere along the line in this growth as a musician, I had realized one thing which was very, very distressing for me, because I hadn't realized it before when I was my father's son and I was going to his concerts. I realized that the tabla player was a secondary musician. It dawned on me that the tabla player was the guy who sat on the side and was the accompanist, was the secondary musician. And the experiences, and Playing with Raviji was the biggest honor of my life. That's not what I'm talking about. But otherwise, if I was playing with a contemporary artist, my age, there were times he traveled in AC first class. Mostly we used to travel in trains those days. I would be in non-AC three tier. I never thought that this is the way the construct is. So gradually I started thinking ki after Raviji, what am I going to do? I mean, I've already played with the biggest man in the business. What is going to happen to my career? Am I going to, then I will be relegated, just doing, it's a great craft, it's a great art. And I always felt that tabla is a monster drum. It is the ultimate percussion instrument in the world. I still believe that, and I have much reason for that also. But that will come out in a workshop. So I felt, kuch aur hai. Something else is there. And I used to feel it in my gut that there's something else. I have something else to do. There's another role for me, And it coincided with a personal kind of breakdown of something in my life. And I thought that because I was with my back to the wall, I felt this is the right time for me to take a big step. Because if I'm really down and out, and I was very sick also. I had jaundice on my second time. And I felt this is the right time to do or die. So either I just go down with this whole thing or I get up like the phoenix, So I chose the latter, and I stopped playing. I stopped playing classical music for 7 years. I'm the only tabla player in the history of Indian classical music who's taken a hiatus from Indian classical playing. And everybody was shocked. Raviji called my father and said, "Mathata gache cheleta." Amjad Khan Sahab called and said, "Beta, kya kar rahe ho? Ye to apne aap ko dubo rahe ho." Because I was already very popular playing with everybody, and everybody wanted to play with me. Then I stopped. I did not play classical music for 7 years. And I stopped, and I was sitting at home, and I wanted to make an album. The album which eventually became Rhythmscape. I wanted to make an album, and I wanted to create a band. I wanted to create a band where me, the tabla player, would sit in the middle. Everybody on my right and left, and I'm sitting in the middle. All my friends and colleagues laughed, and not just to my face, but behind my back also. Bhai ki bhabche singer nei kichu nei, ekta ba tabla niye ekta band baniyece, she abar taka chaiche. This is 2001. And so, I mean, telling Raviji was very difficult. But somehow I got his blessing, and I took a bank loan. I took an SBI loan for 5 lakhs. Because those days making an album was very costly. Unlike today, it's all digitized today, it's easy to do it. You have a home studio, you can do things at home. But then I took a bank loan. So you don't have a loan to make an album. So I took a house renovation loan. I spent 4.5 lakhs on making Rhythmscape. And then it had just, I had done a couple of tracks, and I suddenly saw in the papers, Sony Music has come to India. And those days there were no Planetums or Music Worlds. That happened just after. Sony Music has come to India, and I was like, करना है तो best करना है, सबसे बड़ा company के साथ करना है. So I said, Sony Music, I want to work with Sony Music. Who's going to take me to Sony Music? गाना ही नहीं है. People used to ask, तेरा band बना तो गाना क्या है? What song? अरे song sir, song तो नहीं है. क्या है? वो तबला है. आई तबला है. अच्छा क्या? So I did my first track, Rhythm Speaks. I put it on a CD in a packet, and I mailed it, writing Sony Music Mumbai. That's it. I didn't even have an address. Somehow it reached. 10, 12 days later, this guy called Venkat calls me on the landline. Hello, is this Bickram Ghosh? I said, yeah. Hi, I'm Venkat from Sony Music. You sent us some music? I said, yeah, I sent you some music. He said, where's the rest of it? It's just one track, 5 minutes. I said, there's nothing else. That's what it is. Do you like it? Hey, man, it's amazing. You know, it's really good. And yeah. Well, then he says, what's the genre? I said, I don't know. But he said, there's no song in it. So I said, no, there's no song in it. And it's kind of, it's not classical. It's not this. No, what is it? I said, I don't know. It's probably fusion. Yeah. Fusion was not very common then. Of course, there had been Shakti in the 70s, all of that. But in India, it was still kind of, nascent. And then I said, look, you want the rest of the album? Commission, please. At least I'll get some money back. And then Rhythmscape happened, the band happened, we rehearsed for 1.5 years. And the first concert, which was in first concert was in Nehru Center in Bombay, second was in Swabhumi in Calcutta. And the minute I hit the hand sonic with the tablas and just that new kind of sound, which we can talk about later, but the young crowd, whoa, and there were whistles and stuff. So I realized, apna to ban gaya. So that was it.
I was there.
Thank you. Nice.
Now, so that's a story of, something like a chemistry equation almost, resulting out of some things and some nothings.
Mm-hmm. To be or not to be, that is the question.
That is the question. You don't have a tabla, we don't have a congo. Can you spin something out of nothing for us? Or is
अच्छा ऐसा है
मतलब इस ट्राई करें आप ही ने
कुछ
बोला
बनाइए
ट्राई आई कैन ट्राई वी कैन ट्राई
I had no talim in that from my father or from Ravi Shankar ji. So I'm guilty of all of that on my own.
But I'm sure they would still have been very proud. Words are essentially irrelevant. That's the elemental, I think, rhythm of life. I mean, I don't think anything else brings it out as much as percussion does, and you did it with the body. But
can I just interrupt you there?
Please.
You said words.
Yes.
I love this figure of speech, which we learned again in English literature, which you have as well, called onomatopoeia.
Yes.
The sound echoes the sense.
Yes.
The tabla as an instrument isn't just this monster drum that you play. It has a full-blown language of rhythm. Full-blown language. So I can easily say, Cecil is so wonderful to kradhati dhagena dhagathina gena. I mean, all the years that we've been kritikatun has been so dhina gena. And you get it, Right. So the sound echoes the sense. I want to give you a little demonstration of tabla bowls just for you to understand how rich this subject is, how incredibly rich it is. So there's a bowl, I will speak the bowl, And then I'll tell you a story to connect the bowl. Nice and innocent. Nothing but a few sounds. Now imagine the jungle. You have a big animal, and you have a small animal. Maybe a lion, and maybe you have a rabbit. Lion chases the rabbit, and the rabbit is trying to escape, and chases through here, through there. Finally, the rabbit somehow jumps and escapes. Let's correlate this to this composition called a tukra. So, big animal, small animal.
So if there's anybody who wants to ask Pandit Bickram Ghosh a question, please do feel free.
Ask or tell me something also.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, sir.
আপনি আপনার ছবি তৈরির ব্যাপারটার মধ্যে ওই অংশটা বাদ দিয়েছেন।
Well, he's right actually. There is another avatar, যেটা উনি একদম correct বলেছেন. Somehow I floated into this world of making music for films, and completely unexpected. Didn't ever plan on it, though I was very attracted towards cinema. I wanted to do music for films, but I didn't know how to because I was never trained. But this untrained guy has done 54 feature films as a music director. So that was something quite unexpected, which came out of my career. And the first time I really felt that I should look at this career seriously was when I did the film called Jal. In Jal, me and Sonu Nigam had composed together, and that got us an Oscar contention. And then for the first time I thought कि अगर मुझे Oscar contention मिला है तो कुछ तो सही कर रहा हूँ मैं. Then I started thinking I should give this a little more credence, a little more importance. And then, of course, the many feilms that came thereafter. I still score a lot for cinema, many in Bangla, and a fair number, about 12 in Hindi, and about 40-something in Bangla, 41 films in Bangla. So all the Bhumkeshis and all the Durgesh God and blah, blah, blah. So all those films also came. So yes, thank you, sir, for reminding me. That's been a big journey as well in my life. Very grateful for it.
Bikram actually acto করেছেন, but he decided to put a hard stop to that when somebody introduced him at an event like this as Meet Bickram Ghosh, the actor, and that was.
এখন আপনাদের সামনে বিখ্যাত অভিনেতা বিক্রম ঘোষ তবলা লহরা বাজিয়ে শোনাবেন. I was like, wow. It just did away with my entire life in one sweep, you know. So I said, that's the last film I'm doing. So in the last 20 years, I have not done another film. But I really lucked out with that first film because I got my wife from there. Joya and I met in that film, and our dear friends Kanchana and Shukota had produced it. And but after so many years now, I've just done another film in Hindi called Band of Maharajas.
Okay.
Which is going to be out on Netflix soon and in the halls also.
Okay.
But yeah, it's not a very big role, but very relevant role, and it's a role of an Afghan percussionist, and the music is also mine. So yeah,
that's still a percussionist.
Still a percussionist.
Okay.
So
Got that. Any other questions? Thank you for your question, sir. Any other questions?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Abhishek, and I'm the activity coordinator of the Heritage School, and sir is very much related to Heritage School.
Yes, of course I've seen you. Hi, good to see you.
Yes, sir. So, sir, I was just thinking, I was waiting for everyone else to ask their question, but since nobody asked, so I thought, let me take this opportunity. So, being the activity coordinator, sir, I would like to ask you, could you just help us? I think many principals of the heads of the schools would also like to know, is there a particular way of understanding the artistic potential of the children and nurture it, or try and give the support to develop that particular talent in a child?
Very good question. See, at Heritage, because both my children have gone to Heritage, and one of them is sitting right here, you do have a fair amount of activities in the school. So you will see very clearly, whether they have aptitude in music or in painting or drama or writing. So you have those opportunities to see who has that aptitude, because I've seen the performances in your school also, and they're superlative, they're brilliant. I think the problem is not in recognizing. You can always recognize a student's talent. That's the easy part. I think the next part is the difficult one. That how do you create a psyche to take something up which is non-conventional as a profession? That is the tough part. And the family has to also support. Often the families, they find it very difficult, And like for me also, when my friends we would go to some friend's house in school, and then the parent there would ask the other friends, what do you want to be when you grow up? Somebody would say an engineer, somebody would say a journalist, and I would say a tabla player. And I was told many times that, beta, wo to bahut achhi baat hai, lekin karoge kya? So it's a thought that, you probably can pursue this as a hobby, but how are you going to earn a living out of it? And is it going to be paying, or etc.? So the only thing I can say is that, any profession, if you excel, you will go up to that mark. I think the psychology needs to change, that if the school sees talent, like I've seen in your school, there are wonderful singers, wonderful tabla players also, drummers, guitarists, blah blah. You could talk to them, see how you could help them hone their skills and think professionally, because you can make a fantastic career. I have zero complaints about my life, and I tell all my friends, and most of my friends are kind of, what is it like, going across the globe, performing? But I just keep telling them, I feel so blessed that I have a blast. I have such a wonderful time making music, going to the studio, playing concerts, and I get paid for it. What else is a better life, Doing such a wonderful activity day in, day out for almost 40 years now, and getting paid for it. So I think it's the psychology which needs to really be revisited, that aptitude, talent, in whatever you have, you can marry it with the education. I married it with the education. The education is in no contradiction to it at all. You need the education. Without the education, I couldn't have done music for films. Because I studied literature, I understand script. My education has been absolutely intrinsic to my profession. The way I talk, I communicate, and performance is about communication. You said that, right, Cecil, right in the beginning? Yeah. So it is exactly that. It is performance. And you need to perform whatever profession you are in. You need to perform. And communication is a huge part of that. So if you can get kids to understand their talent, their skill set, and help them educationally to be, of course, a complete human being, learn everything about this earth, and also help how the education can help that particular skill set. That's very important. That I did not get that. Because I don't think people were thinking that far. People are thinking now, But there is a huge opportunity there to help children with understanding their skill set and marrying it with the education.
I think something that Bickram had said in a previous conversation, that, and Shomurjit had also actually said, intersectionality is what we are looking at as a set of people working with youngsters. So that you have lived that anyway.
Yeah, actually, I curate Serendipity Festival, which is India's biggest festival in Goa. And for the third year now, I'm curating that festival. And there is a huge the festival directors and the people who run the festival really want it to be interdisciplinary.
Right.
So it is very important to marry the different streams, you know. So I think today's times, we need to understand the holistic nature of things, that it is not segregated, you know, things are holistic. So you do marry, coming back to Shakespeare again, if music be the food of love, play on. And I love to do a take on it, and I spin it around and say, if food be the music of love, eat on.
I think that opens the way for
food.
Yeah, Shweta to make the formal announcements. But Bickram, thank you as always for being so wonderfully articulate and inspiring as always. And of course, thank you to our wonderful audience.
Thank you, Shukana. You did a wonderful job. You really asked me wonderful questions.
You made my job really easy. Amake kichu kortei hoyni, but thank you.
Thank you.
And over to Shweta, and thank you once again, everyone.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you.
That was truly a brilliant and inspiring session. Thank you, Pandit Bickram Ghosh, for spending time with all of us today. Your presence added a touch of magic to this evening. I would now like to invite Mrs. Shomarjit Chaudhary on stage to give you a small token of our gratitude.
Namaskar, I'm Bickram Ghosh, and I really had a wonderful time participating as the guest speaker for the Telegraph Online Edugraph Educators Meet 24. This was a wonderful experience, almost a 1-hour interview on stage where I was able to talk about my life and the role of education in my life. And I really find this a brilliant platform. It offers insights into people's lives, and I don't think lives can be led well without education. So my expectations from the Telegraph Online Edugraph Educators Meet in the coming years is a lot, very high, and I do hope that each and every time it is as fruitful as this one, and it's a great platform for the educators to meet together and decide the future of hundreds and thousands of students. So thank you for having me. I certainly think that the inclusion of arts into the education firmament is very, very necessary, because I can speak from a musical perspective. I think music is something which is incredibly powerful where honing is concerned. A student, anybody who has an insight into the world of music develops not just a skill set, but also gets an inner satisfaction, which is extremely important, builds confidence, builds communication, and gives one an inner world which is one's own. The power of music is only now being understood by, society, by doctors. I think it's a fantastic inclusion. I do hope that all students benefit like I benefited, because I had the wonderful opportunity of including arts into my education, even at home. So I did turn out in a certain way, and I was able to marry the two together because of that particular inclusion. So I do hope that others benefit from it also, and congratulations. I think this is a fantastic advancement.
I am Cecil Anthony, the Chief Mentor of NSHM Knowledge Campus. The Telegraph Online Edugraph Educators Meet 2024. My expectations are definitely focused on, in this ever-changing world, what are the challenges we are going to see, and how are we going to meet these challenges. And especially with a guest like Pandit Bickram Ghosh, I am sure that for the teachers of today, for the educators of today, the 60-minute or the 120-minute session is nothing but a performance. And there's a lot to learn from him, how to take this performance to the next level in our classrooms, in our labs, in all our venues.
Myself, Mrs. Manashira Chaudhary, the chairperson Techno. It's EduGraph Educators Meet 2024. When a group of principals and educators are all there in the same platform, definitely it's the best of education from the city and the state, and it's about mixing, matching and exchanging ideas which is based on the education of the students of the city. Yes, definitely it's not now. I think for the last few years the government, the state, the country is working on skill-based learning. It helps, as I was telling, it helps the children who are not very talented to tap their potential for areas which makes them feel that they can also be a part of the family income and they can support it, because without skills a student cannot actually see. And that is where we are supposed to help the student base with the skills which can be varied from levels like just a sewing machine to skill sets for computers. So it's best that we help these children to make India totally educated, so that we can also tap on students who are from the rural sectors, the suburbs, and not only the metro cities.
It gives me immense pleasure to come over here to be a part of this EduGraph's Educators Meet. It's a wonderful initiative taken by EduGraph to definitely organize a science spectra, and it is interesting issue that that will stimulate the students, particularly with a scientific bent of mind. No theme base, that is more exciting, so they can choose their own theme from whichever discipline they want, from the science discipline, and they can showcase their talent through the projects, through their dissertation paper, through the PPT file, whichever it is, and we are all geared up to be a part of it. Hoping to get more insights at this educators meet, and this is a wonderful time that possibly I'll be having it here. Thank you.
I think it's very important in today's world, considering the job opportunities in skill-based learning. This is indeed very important. If the students acquire skills, they'll be eligible to get jobs or work. In fact, we all encourage our students to take up those subjects in which they can pursue a career and can stand on their own feet in future. This is what we expect, and in fact our combinations, especially for the higher secondary section of a school, our combinations are also set in such a manner that the students can pursue something in future, so that not just education for the sake of education. Of course, the purpose of education is to make a complete person, and we do need holistic and inclusive education for all, but it should also aim at skill development so that they get their opportunities in future. They can stand on their own feet and can earn a living. That is what our aim is, especially at the higher secondary level of our school. In fact, we start with this from the secondary level also. We have computer learning at the secondary level, in which, of course, our school on our own, we include the recent trends in computer learning so that the students can pursue a future at the higher secondary level and also later in life.
I heard that Mr. Bickram Ghosh is going to come here, and he is the resource person here. And since we are from the education background, so we expect that we will be getting some inputs how to excel. That is, I am from St. Augustine Day School, Barakpur, and I am the senior school coordinator. So you must know about the results that has come out very soon, and we have done quite well. We are proud of our results. We are proud of our children, and so we want to know more about the thing. So how can we give more inputs to our children so that they can do that is better in the future?
I'm very pleased to be here with the Telegraph Online Educators Meet. It is fantastic to be on the stage where children get a lot of opportunity and the educators also get opportunity to know each other and to have, a lot of learning and exchange of views here. Thank you so much.
I have been expecting for this Educators Meet for quite some time. I'm hoping to learn a lot and enrich myself with all my counterparts so that we can give it back to our children at the end of the sessions. In today's day and age, skills we're learning is the most important criteria that we must learn, especially in today's day and age when we actually emphasize on different kinds of life skills. So it is very important, very, very vital.
আজকে আমি এসেছি বেলতলা গার্লস হাই স্কুল থেকে। আমি ওখানকার জিওগ্রাফির অ্যাসিস্ট্যান্ট টিচার। আর এই যে টেলিগ্রাফের এডুকেটার্স মিট হচ্ছে 2024-এ, তাতে আমি আমন্ত্রিত হতে পেরে খুব ভালো লাগছে। আর এখানের যে বিষয়বস্তু সেটা শুনলাম ট্যালেন্ট হান্ট। তো ট্যালেন্ট তো শুধুমাত্র যে পড়াশোনার মাধ্যমে অর্জন করা যায় এরকমটা আমি অন্তত মনে করি না। ট্যালেন্ট বিভিন্ন জনের বিভিন্নভাবে থাকতে পারে। যেরকম যদি আমি আমার হাউসহোল্ড হেল্পের কথাই বলি, তার এত ছোট ছোট টেকনিক্যাল ব্যাপারে নলেজ থাকে, সেটা আমার তো মনে হয় সে যদি প্রপার এডুকেশন পেত তাহলে তার এই ট্যালেন্ট অনেকটা উপরে উঠতে পারত। তো সেরকম আমরা চারপাশে দেখি যে ছোট ছোট কাজের মাধ্যমে একজন যখন তাদের তথাকথিত যে পড়াশোনা তার বাইরে থেকে নিজেকে প্রকাশ করতে পারছে, সেইটাই হলো অ্যাকচুয়ালি ট্যালেন্ট হান্ট বলতে যা বোঝায়। আমার তো মনে হয় সেটাই। আসলে চারদিকেই রত্ন ছড়িয়ে ছিটিয়ে থাকে। আমাদের টিচারদের কাজ হলো সেই ধরনের রত্নগুলোকে খুঁজে বের করে আনা। তো আমার এক্সপেকটেশন এইটাই যে এনারা কিভাবে এই ব্যাপারটাকে ট্যালেন্ট হান্টটাকে কিভাবে রিপ্রেজেন্ট করছেন সেটা দেখা। তার থেকে যদি আমি কিছু শিখতে পারি, আমার চারপাশে যে আমি কলকাতার যেরকম স্কুলে পড়াই তাতে 90% ছেলে মেয়ে আসে বস্তি এলাকা থেকে। তো সেখানে অনেক ক্ষেত্রেই তার মা যদিও বা কিছুটা পড়াশোনা জানা 7-8 পর্যন্ত, বাচ্চাগুলোর বাবারা প্রায় না পড়াই বলতে গেলে। তো ওরা এই যে সেকেন্ড জেনারেশন লার্নার, কখনো কখনো ফার্স্ট জেনারেশন লার্নার, তাদের মধ্যে যে প্রতিভা আছে সেইগুলো নার্চার করার ক্ষেত্রে আমি ভূমিকা নিতে পারি, যাতে সেইভাবে আমি নিজেকে এনরিচ করতে পারি যাতে।
It's nice experience actually. Edugraph Educators Meet. It's a nice platform. It's a nice platform where all the principals or head of the schools they gathered here. And it's a nice experience to meet Dr. Bickram Ghosh and his experience. He has shared his nice experiences of his life story, and that's really inspiring. I think this Edugraph Educators Meet, if they can reach to the school boys directly, I think this type of all the dignitaries, they can reach our boys or girls directly. I think they would be more focused, they'd be more inspired.
Well, thank you very much for inviting us for this beautiful evening. It was a great experience being here and meeting such a renowned personality. And we would be looking forward for some more such, interactions with all the good interactive people. Thank you.
Out of this meet this evening, I'm looking forward to a lot of exchange of ideas. I'm looking forward to learning a lot of things and exchanging my own ideas as well. Basically an interactive fun session with like-minded people. That's what I'm looking for.
টেলিগ্রাফ অনলাইন এডুগ্রাফ এই যে প্ল্যাটফর্মটা করা হয়েছে এতে স্টুডেন্ট, টিচার্স এবং পেরেন্টস সবাইকেই একসঙ্গে নিয়ে যাতে সবাই চলতে পারে সেই রেসপেক্টেই এটা খুব ভালোভাবেই এগিয়ে যাচ্ছে আর কি। এবং আমার ধারণা যে এটা আমাদের ছাত্রছাত্রীদের জন্য খুব হেল্পফুল হবে, কারণ টেলিগ্রাফ অনলাইন এডুগ্রাফ এর ফলে ছাত্রছাত্রীরা যেমন নিজেদেরকে এক্সপ্লোর করতে পারছে, তেমনি আমরা শিক্ষকরাও কিন্তু বিভিন্ন রকম ইনফরমেশান পাচ্ছি। এবং আরেকটা কথা হচ্ছে যে প্রতিটা ছেলেমেয়ে বা ছাত্রছাত্রী যে শুধুমাত্র পড়াশুনো করবে তা নয়, তার সঙ্গে তাদের বিভিন্ন রকম অ্যাক্টিভিটিস বা কে কোন দিকে যেতে চাইছে সেইটা কিন্তু তারা নিজেদের মতো করে বলার একটা প্ল্যাটফর্ম এই টেলিগ্রাফ অনলাইন এডুগ্রাফের মাধ্যমে পাচ্ছে, যার ফলে আমার মনে হয় ওভারঅল ছাত্রছাত্রীদের, এই জেনারেশনের ছাত্রছাত্রীদের ক্ষেত্রে এটা খুব এফেক্টিভ হবে। এবং আজকেও আমরা এখানে এডুকেটার্স মিট অনুষ্ঠানে এসেছি এবং এখানে বিভিন্ন শিক্ষক শিক্ষিকা এসছেন এবং বিভিন্ন এডুকেটার যারা এসছেন তাদের সঙ্গে আমরা মত বিনিময় করে আমরাও নিজেদেরকে সমৃদ্ধ করতে পারবো এবং সেটা আমরা ছাত্রছাত্রীদের মধ্যে ছড়িয়ে দিতে পারলে আমার মনে হয় ওভারঅল আমাদের এই জেনারেশনের একটা খুব ভালো লাভ হবে আর কি।
This is something very close to my heart, and I have always emphasized vocational education as an educator, the early stages of my profession, and then I still feel that this is something that will take us to the future. Yes, we had always emphasized basic sciences or core sciences, and that had been our forte all through. But today, we realize that vocational education, unless we are skilled and unless we find ways of expressing ourselves and passionately expressing ourselves, as we saw today in the talk of Mr. Bickram Ghosh, and I'm sure we'll all find ways of expressing ourselves and finding ourselves through education, and I'm sure that is the future.
We are at a time when the methods that we used to follow, those typical methods of learning, have to be done away with because times are very challenging. We have to prepare students for skills that we don't even know what is demanding in the next few years. We are teaching them for sure, but we ourselves don't know what we are teaching them for, because with the ever-changing world, what the demands would be in the next 10 years, we don't know. But we would all agree, I'm sure, that there are certain basic skills which apply everywhere. So, of course, learning has to be made fun. That's very, very important, so that the process of learning is something that they enjoy, so that it comes naturally to them. And of course, any skill that would, life skills are the things that we should focus on, so that no matter what the times are and what the professions are, they are ready for the world.
Well, the Telegraph Online Edugraph Educators Meet 24 is indeed a great platform to meet educators from different kinds of schools and to share our experiences. Moreover, it's a kind of a learning from different schools as well as their methodologies and practices, and also to exchange our and their practices, so that we can always come up, improvise and share ideas that people can exchange with.
Thank you so much.